Hi, it's Rudy from Better Music. Today I've got the Roland LX708 here in the recording room. We previously did, well, sort of just an intro on this piano when it was first released, and I went up to Roland headquarters. Since then, obviously, we've got them in the store, and we thought we'd do a little bit of a video just on this because it is quite unique, and it's sort of different from all the other pianos on the market and different from the rest of the models in the LX range. We've done a video on the LX700 series, which there's 705, 706, and the 708, but this one is quite different. I mean, just looking at it, normally I'm sitting facing the camera the other way, but this is basically, it's like an upright piano. It's 118 centimeters tall. Typically the most common upright piano size we sell is about a 121, 122 centimeters. So this is pretty much almost like one of those. So you're sitting at a piano for all intents and purposes, and it feels like you're sitting at one. Roland have even gone to the extent of designing the speaker system and the cabinet on this to project sound in a similar way that you would hear it if you were sitting at a real acoustic piano. There's sound coming out of everywhere. There's a 4-channel, 8-speaker sound system. The computer inside the piano determines exactly how the sound is put out depending on what you're playing. So it's very high-tech stuff, and it certainly adds to the realism that you feel when you play this piano. Okay, so let's look a little bit more in detail about what makes this different. So to start with, in previous LX series pianos, we had what was called supernatural modelling for the sound. So they modelled a real piano. In that case, it was a German piano from Hamburg. And they're still doing that, but this is quite different. So instead of having their supernatural modelling, it's now called pure acoustic modelling. Yes, it's just another name for something, but it does mean quite a lot in this type of technology, because we now have more than one model on the piano. So we have 2 completely different models. So the computer is doing 2 entirely different tasks for 2 different instruments, and it gives you a lot more variety. So you've got 2 pianos that emanate from famous locations, and Hamburg being one of them. Without that, gives the name away pretty easily. And it's a European Grand, and there's also an American Grand. So in the real world of pianos, they're from the same company, but they're 2 quite different pianos. So we have those both in here right now. Let's have a little listen. We heard the European Grand in the intro, and there's different variations on that. And having both these models gives you all the nuances and different characteristics that you could possibly want. Plus you can fine tune as well. Let's have another listen. So this is European Grand. This is the American Grand in contrast to the European. On both the models, what is really apparent when you play them is not just that the sound is really good, it's the way the sound behaves. And that's one thing that Roland have always strived to do with the modelling. And the main reason why they've pursued this entire way of doing things, in contrast to a lot of the other manufacturers, is because they wanted to make the pianos behave like a real piano. And they found the only way they could do that was to use modelling technology, because they can control every parameter and make individual notes and the references between different notes behave like they would on a real piano. And what you hear, especially in things like when you're playing up the top and you're holding the pedal, it's the way the sound decays, the way the sound relates to other notes on the piano, the resonance. It's very realistic, and I think they've done a really good job of trying to capture a lot of the qualities that you get when you play a really good piano. Okay, so we've heard 2 of the models. There's the American Grand and the German Grand. There's variations on those as well. So let's go back to the European Grand, but we'll go to European 2, which is just a different setup. Now we'll have a listen to the other version of the American, so American version 2. So that one's obviously quite sparkly and quite gutsy, so you can play some blues or some jazz or whatever. It's very, very... lends itself very much to playing that type of music. So obviously you've got the 4 preset pure acoustic model sounds, but you can edit everything and make your own up. You've got the piano designer built into the piano. You can edit individual notes. You can even voice individual notes like a technician would on a real piano. And it's not adjusting EQ, it's actually editing, voicing that particular note. Because of the modeling technology that can do that, you can also download the Piano Designer app for Android or iOS. You can do it all from the device. Speaking of devices, there's the Piano Everyday app, which you can use with the instrument as well, which gives you notation. It allows you to download sheet music from Sheet Music Direct and actually learn to play it, plays it through the piano, it connects wirelessly. It's really, really good. Getting back to the sounds that we have on the piano, so the pure acoustic modelled piano sounds, there are 4 of those. In total, there's over 320 sounds. Now, all the other sounds on the instrument don't use the pure acoustic modelling. They use Roland sampling technologies. And there's a whole host of them, so we'll have a little bit of a listen to them. But before we do that, let's just have a listen to the European Grand again, mixed with a really, really nice pad. It's just a really nice, smooth sound. Okay, we're just going to play through a few of the other sounds. There's too many on here to really demonstrate, but just to give you an idea of some of the sounds. I mean, with 300 and something sounds, I mean, you've got basses, drums, chromatic percussion, strings, a whole bunch. We'll have a listen to the electric piano. There's a 1976 Suitcase, which is really nice on here. Okay, so we've heard the sounds, we've had a little bit of a chat about the piano. Let's talk about the action, because the action obviously is really important. This is a really high quality piano, and the action's got to be good enough for, well, a serious player to play it, not just someone who's starting out. It's got to cover all the sort of levels. So I think Roland have done a really good job. This action is different. So the 708, which is this one, and one model below, the 706, both use this action. It's the hybrid grand action from Roland. So previous LX models and the HP series below use the PHA 50 action. This is very similar to that. So it's a hybrid action in a sense. It's got composite plastic components and also timber components. But what they've done with the 706 and the 708 is they've lengthened the key. So we've got a 26 centimeter key in terms of the distance between the pivot point on the mechanism and the front of the key, which is really long. And what that does, you're probably going, well, what does that do? Well, obviously it's giving you the counterbalance, and it's giving you a more realistic feel in terms of what a real grand piano mechanism would be. A real grand piano key has a similar length depending on the size of the piano. Obviously you go to a concert grand, the key sticks are a little bit longer. But you're getting a very realistic feel, and certainly if you're playing really fast passages, so or trilling, the response you're getting from the keyboard is accurate enough that you can play, you know, far more difficult stuff than I can play on here, and it'll perform and it'll do what you need it to do. So they've done a really good job on that front. So to make things even a little bit more complicated, well, it's not complicated, to differentiate this from the 706, so the 706 has the same key mechanism, Roland have gone one step further on this, and they've used technology that you will find in mobile phones called haptics. So if you've got an iPhone or similar, you know, when you press on your screen or you press on your button just to touch something, it gives you a little vibration, okay, to let you know that you've engaged a certain function on the phone. So similarly to that, what they've done is, depending on how you interact with the piano and how hard you play the keys, it's giving you haptic feedback in the actual key itself and giving you certain vibrations in the piano that you would get from a real piano when you're playing really hard. And it doesn't just do it when you press the key. If you play it like I can do it now, I can actually feel a little vibration under there, as you would feel on a real grand piano, from the string being struck, the vibration going through the bridge, hitting the soundboard, going through the frame, and actually feeling a vibration in the piano. They've actually made this do it. So you've got the speaker system giving you some vibration through the cabinet, and there is cabinet resonance on this model too. But to make it even more accurate, they've actually given you the feedback individually per key, and it's not just going to do it on every key you play, it's going to do it depending on what you're doing. So it's going to actually do it the right way, which is a pretty cool feature. So I thought I'd just get the action model out and show you this is the hybrid grand action. And I actually got a tape measure out just to make sure, but from there to there, so from the actual pivot point of the mechanism to the front of the key is 260 mil. So it is, you know, a fair length in terms of the key. What you don't see, of course, when you're looking at the piano is that you're only sort of seeing up to there, really, which is where the black note finishes. So this is all behind the cabinet. Anyway, just thought I'd show you. Okay, so we've talked about the action, we've talked about the sound, we've talked about a lot of the features of the piano. Of course, we've got the tech spec features in terms of functionality, and you have Bluetooth MIDI, you have Bluetooth audio streaming as well, so you can stream music from a device, use it as a Bluetooth speaker. Bluetooth MIDI is to connect to apps. Roland have their own app, well, there's Piano Designer, which I mentioned before, where you can actually edit the piano from the app. But then you also have the new Roland app called Piano Every Day, and this is pretty cool because it enables you to download music from Sheet Music Direct. You can purchase scores, it interacts, it connects to the piano. The audio will play through the piano via audio streaming, and you can actually learn to play the songs at your own pace, which is really handy. But on top of that, you have full control of the piano from the app, so you can pick sounds, you can save your settings, and you can actually completely control the piano from the device, which is really, really cool. So this has been a look at the Roland LX708. The one we have here in the studio is the charcoal finish. It's also available in a polished ebony finish and also a polished white finish. Now, look, as I said, it's a great piano. Who's going to use it? Anyone can use it. I mean, whether you're a beginner, you're just starting out, or whether you've played, you know, many years ago and you're coming back to it. I think this piano has attributes and qualities that would suit just about anyone. But in particular, if you used to play many years ago or at some time earlier in your life and you haven't had a chance to get back to it and you're thinking about perhaps giving it another go, you're going to want something that really sounds awesome and that feels good, because otherwise you're just simply not going to do it. It's got to be rewarding. So from that point of view, I think this does that really well. But first and foremost, you may not have hours upon hours to spend doing this, you know, in your busy life. You want to come home from work, you want to sit down, you might want to spend 10 minutes, you might want to spend half an hour. So, and what you do in that time is going to depend on, you know, how long you used to play, how long ago you used to play, and what you remember. So if you have just a piano and you don't have any functions, sure, you can start learning the piano and remember stuff, and you might have a great time. But what this does is it gives you a whole bunch of things you can do. So if one day you don't feel like having the hard slog and trying to read the music and learn a piece, you can have a muck around, you can have your iPad set on there, you could get YouTube up, you could have a lesson come up, you can put your headphones on and just have a simple little follow along and not actually really have to do any work, but you're still going to get quality time enjoying yourself with the instrument using all its tech specs. In particular with the app, it just makes it really, really easy. So you don't have to feel like I've spent all this money on this piano and, oh geez, I'm going to have to learn to play the piano, and then it becomes stressful. You don't want it to become stressful. You want to come home, you want to enjoy yourself. And with all the features you have on this, you can do that in a multitude of ways. So I think from that point of view, you're going to get something you're going to enjoy. And that'll apply to, you know, kids that are learning as well. I mean, if you're learning to play the piano, sure, you've got to do your practice, but you can enhance all the practice with the add-on features on this instrument. So all in all, a fantastic job from Roland. I think it's a really stunning piano, and it's really pushing the boundaries of what digital pianos are today. I mean, this is a piano. I mean, you may as well not call it a digital piano. Yes, it is, but this competes absolutely with, you know, an equivalently or similarly priced acoustic piano from the main manufacturers, and I wouldn't hesitate in using something like this to do all of the things that someone who's learning or previously learnt would like to do. Okay, so it's been great fun playing with the Roland LX708. If you've got any questions, hit us up in the comments below, give us a call, or come and see us in store. I'll see you next time.